Okay, sorry about that. Yes, forgot to plug the microphone in. See, that's why I have to do like this first few minutes of okay, how's it sound? How's it sound? Everybody there? How is the picture looking? I unfortunately yesterday it was such a frustrating live stream having Mike on as Skype and as a Skype guest, and it was just so frustrating not being able to get good sound. Um, all right, so hopefully you can see the video. I did some adjusting and we're going to do some more testing with Skype because we're going to have a lot of guests and I really want to make that part work. Next Tuesday, Peter Follensby is going to be joining us, which is just going to be a blast. If you've ever seen him, he's got a lot of YouTube videos too, so if you want to take a look and see what he's all about. But all right, looks and sounds good. All right, good. Upstate New York, Connecticut, Williamston, Michigan. Hi from Michigan. Portland, Indiana. Oh, that's where the Portland limestone came from. That's what when I did the big 8-foot tall limestone dolphin. If you can see this guy here, 8 feet tall, and I carved that out of the Indiana limestone. And okay. Chile, Canada. Wow, we've got California that's 99 degrees. Man. And then Ontario, Somerville. Yeah, just up the road, I think, unless there's there's a lot of Somervilles around. Okay. How could you not like Mike? That's true. He is a sweetheart, isn't he? We are going to be getting all of that sound stuff sorted out, and I really do apologize for that yesterday. You can still, I listened back to yesterday's live stream, and there's some parts that were a little scratchy, but some of it you could still hear a lot of the information. But it's so frustrating to he's got so much information, and yes, he's just a really nice guy, and so we will have him back, and it will be better each day. It gets a little bit better, a little bit better. Look at the sync of the hands are syncing, all right, and I think my mouth is actually syncing to the sound. Yeah, we're getting there. Okay. All right, limestone from Jay County is the best. I actually went up there to Indiana, Portland, Indiana, I guess. Sorry, is that what it is? What is the, yeah, Portland, Indiana, Portland limestone. Went to their factory up there that produced this and got to see all of the big piles of limestone. It's fascinating for a stone carver, anyway. Might not be fascinating for everybody. Okay, well, now this is a question and answer session. You can ask questions, or I'm just going to carve this this basswood, and this original is in marble. And I did sort of play with it a little bit between now and the last live stream because she was just not going anywhere. And I thought, no, I got to figure this out. I got to get the balance. And okay, question. When you glue blocks together, is much surface prep required first? Yes, it should be. I get a little impatient sometimes and I just hope for the best. But yes, I mean, you definitely want those glue joints to be very, very secure, no gaps, nothing like that. Yeah, if there's any unevenness on it, you're going to end up having gaps. And then you'll run into those gaps as you're carving, and it'll look like a split in the wood. So yeah, you do need to make sure that the surfaces are really good and solid and clean. Okay. All right, all good video and sound. Thank you. Okay, Fred in West Virginia. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Okay, there was a report on the news Tuesday evening about a mysterious cloud of sawdust drifting by Hilton Head Island. Yeah, was that me making a mess? Who knows? Yeah, so you did see the last one where a couple times ago where I was grinding all over the place, but yeah, I also broke my mouse in the process, so dropped it on the concrete floor. What is the glue? Just regular old wood type bond glue. Nothing fancy, just enough. But you really, it's a good idea to really make sure it's clamped. 24 hours solidly. Really make sure that it does hold well, even though it may feel dry. The glue may feel dry. There's still that possibility, especially when you've got these big chunks. I just like to do that a little bit more secure. But regular wood glue, nothing special. Okay, well, I'm just gonna start walking through this now. What I have here, a couple things. Now, I was working with these metal squares, but I was so nervous about going right up along her and sort of accidentally bumping it, and I can get pretty careless in that way. So I'm putting those aside because I've got these wooden ones. All right, just because the marble itself is so fragile. Can I ask you? Yeah, that it is looking like it's doing something very, very strange. Okay, hold on a second. Let's see. Give me a minute, and I'll put. That is really strange, isn't it? Okay. Yes, picture is doing something weird. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. It's like the bit rate is doing something really weird on here, so let me just see if I can play around with this. How's the sound? Is the sound still okay even when I'm okay? Okay, I'm back. So I'm gonna bring the video bitrate down. I'm afraid if I take it down, it's gonna end up being a little bit more choppy, but it is doing something very strange. Okay, well, let's just stick with that for a while and see if that might change something. All right, well, let's go with it. So what I decided to do is use this wooden one because it's so easy to damage the marble, even if it's just a little kind of, like a corner of it hitting and just really bruising the marble. So anyway, so I've decided to put that aside and not be tempted to use that. And now what I've got here, and so what I'm trying to do is compare pretty much, take the points of her face right now, take those and transfer them, because I was really sort of starting to lose any guidelines. Okay, so I want to show you what I did. So what I did was, from this point, I just took basically the tip of the nose. Can you see what's going on there? Let me just back up a little bit if I can. Okay. So I did this and just made a little mark, or you can just, maybe with your finger, just mark it and then move it over here and make a mark like that, and then just transfer it. Okay, so right about there is the tip of the nose. Okay, I already marked that. And you can also take it like this, all right, at the top of the head, and then mark it down, and you can pretty much, this actually right at the very end is the tip of the nose. So from the top of the head down. So just try to transfer as many guidelines as possible. Actually, it's a little low, so I'm going to make an X right there. That is the tip of her nose. I've got a lot of dark lines here, so I'm going to try to get rid of it. All right, so that's the tip of the nose. And then we can do some other things. So from here, you can get the tip right in the center of the chin and mark it over. Right, then take that. And now this is one thing, I'll explain what I did a little differently with this. Transfer that a little bit different. Okay, I did want to show you what I did a little different. Okay, is everything working? Okay, good. Pictures are looking good. Do you ever use power chisel for roughing in? Yes, I do have an Automac carver that I have used. I've actually got 3 of them because they do heat up quite a bit. And if I'm really doing a lot of power grinding like that or power carving, what it is basically it's a electric motor and then a chisel on the end of it, and the chisel goes back and forth, and you can just do some pretty speedy carving with it. But I do have that if I do have a lot of roughing out to do, but it almost goes a little too fast, takes too much away for something as delicate and detailed as this. I want to show you what I did, just a little different. Okay, basically took 3 screws and held it down like that because I was having a struggle just positioning this and holding it and clamping it and everything. So I do know there's a nice flat surface at this point, and that worked out really well. At some point I'm going to have to deal with the backside, and when I deal with the backside I'm going to be clamping it from here. You just want to be careful that you do not put those screws anywhere where you possibly have the chance of carving into. I've done it before. It's not very nice. Not very nice for your chisels. Not very nice for your heart as you basically run your nice sharp chisels right into a screw. Not a very good experience. So anyway, so this way I can take it and I can clamp it this way. I can rotate it this way. I think it's going to be easier to show you what I'm doing and where I'm going with this. And then eventually when I want to do the back side and do more of that undercutting and all of that shaping of the back side, then I'll unscrew it and then we'll deal with it on the back side. So this is just a really handy thing, and I can just hold this in with the bench dogs, or if I wanted to, even at an odd angle like that, I could just clamp that because this is pretty solid. All I have to do is just put a pencil's flying. Put a clamp on it, and it's out of the way of any chisels. Esker, I really enjoy the way you think about carving process and how you lay out the reference points. Well, you know, the thing about this is you kind of have to have some reference. Otherwise, it's just like sort of diving in and not really knowing where you're going. But no, I appreciate that, and it's tricky. As I said, I do a lot of staring at it. I do a lot of just looking and saying, okay, what are the best reference points? So you can see right there, that was actually the first line that it was kind of a guess. Now I shifted it down a little bit like that. So the nose, right? And then there's another point right here, right at this point, right between the eyes, right there. And I'm going to make another mark across there and transfer that. And so make sure that you transfer it from the wood here and not based on the bench top. Okay, and then just transfer that over. So a lot of it is kind of lining it up by eye. You could end up doing it just basically taking something like that. If you're trying to figure out heights, taking just a piece of wood, and you can do something like that, all right, to figure out the height, and then hold that and transfer it over. Do you see? I don't know if you can see that, but I've got at least an inch to remove to actually make it the height. Do you see this is starting to look like a hat? All right, so there's a lot to remove, and I might just go ahead and do that now. So let me just get that accurate. So from there, that's the highest spot where that hair hits. Now I'm coming here and straight. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty much at the height of the face is where the height of the hair is right now. So yeah, there's some major removal of this kind of this hat thing, or it used to. I guess it still sort of does. Looks like that fisherman with the big hat coming down. Okay. Hi, Rachel from London. Hello, Rachel. Have you ever used a carver's vise? Allows access 360 degrees. I actually have one, but I've never really had any use for it. I mean, well, for one thing, this is just almost too kind of awkward and too bulky. But I've never really had any need for it. But I do know that what happens is usually there's one big screw and bolt up and from the base usually. And when I have used something like that, there's always been an issue of it kind of torquing. So I almost felt like you had to do at least maybe 3 screws. So if it did torque in the process of the just making it spin, it's very easy to loosen that bolt. So I mean, just with doing 3 screws in this, it ended up holding it, and it's pretty solid. When I took your Springerly cookie mold class last November, you had a handmade strop. I'm guessing that's what you mean, strop for the inside curve of your gouges with several radii. Yes. What are the radii of those curves? I'd like to make one for myself. Am I correct in assuming that it's not necessary to have the same radius on each section as every one of your tools? No. In fact, well, I'm going to have to run and get that. Excuse me while I take I might be able to reach it. Hold on. Let me grab it. All right, I just maxed out the length of the cord as I reached across the room. Okay, so this is what you're talking about. And you know what? The radius doesn't matter. I basically just put a couple random radiuses. I'd say, you could take dowels. You could take a 3/4 inch dowel, maybe 1/2 inch dowel, and a 1/4 inch dowel, and that would be perfectly fine. You want to actually, when you're using the tools on this, you actually want the gouge to be a little larger or the radius to be a little larger than this, so that you can make sure that it covers the whole area. You don't want it to be exact. It doesn't have to be exact. You want it to be a little bit more open on the gouge, so you can sort of roll it across and make sure it covers everything. So that way it can be used for every single gouge that you have, except for the really, really tiny ones. This won't work for those. And that's when you just take a little bit of leather, fold it, and you can use that for the smaller ones, like the smaller number 11 Vayner or something like that. Okay, as you go from one layer to the next glued, what about grain direction? There definitely is that. There's definitely that potential of the grain switching, but you just have to be aware of it. And maybe when you're gluing it together, consider it of the grain direction. Those are just things that are part of that. And you may have to, as you're cutting across that glue section, just be very aware, and you may have to go across the grain, because if you just heading in one direction and then you hit that glue joint and it reverses, it will catch you. So a lot of times you do have to go across the grain to really gain control of that. Okay, all right, we were having some picture issues again. Okay, what glue works with leather? Any kind. You can probably even use epoxy. I really just, in fact, I'm looking at mine and like, yeah, it's kind of, coming off there a little bit, so probably have to redo it. Anything. I haven't really, I'm pretty sure I just use regular wood glue on that one. So anyway, so are we doing okay with the sound and with the picture? All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to lower that down, because I do know that needs to be taken down a bit. All right, but that is the area where the nose is. So I'm going to go ahead and also come in here. That's the center point of the face. And right there is the nose, so I'm going to go a little bit lower than that. Now, as I'm doing this, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Maybe I need to move a little bit. But I'm actually, as I'm doing this, I'm looking at her, right? I'm just kind of taking and just glancing over and seeing. I probably have to move this over a bit. Just okay, as I'm working on her, I just do a lot of comparison, visual comparison, as I'm doing this. Okay, where are we here? See, Troy Down's contact cement works well with leather. Well, you know what? I guess you need to consider when you're gluing leather down, you do have to consider there's probably some kind of oil on the surface. Or, you know, just depends, I guess, on how the leather was treated. So you do need to kind of consider that, but I don't know if it's really that big of a deal. Okay, tight bond glue works well on leather. What tool are you using now? This is the number 714. I'm pretty much going to stick with this for most of the roughing out. Unless I need to get something like a spoon bent. I can reach some of my spoon bent ones. Something if I have to access something a little bit more into awkward areas. I got a little bit of a bend in it. But for the time being, I am going to pretty much stick with this one. It's got a nice curve to it, number 714. It's got a nice curve and it doesn't remove too much too quickly. So in a way, what I'm doing reminds me of stone carving in that each of the little cuts, it takes a little bit away each time, and I've always discovered that it actually helps you discover the design a little bit more. When you're trying to figure out shapes, if you just go in and just dive and remove all of that, I mean, unless you know exactly where you're going with it, but this sort of discovery process, taking a little bit away, and just walking through it like that, it kind of helps the process, just finding those difficult shapes. Okay, let's see. What tool? Ken, ask your question again. Who's Ken? What was the question? Did I let? Oh, sorry, I missed one. You can take the height measurement even though you haven't carved the back. Yes, because it's based on, sorry, yes, I'm sorry I missed that one. It is based on her setting flat against the workbench. So I know that the places that she is hitting the workbench, this part of the back, and then this part, actually there's a kind of the hair cloth, what's the word? Shawl. That's hitting right there and that's hitting right there. So the back of her is going to be exactly the positioning on here. That's why I'm trying to get the exact height based from here. That's why I was doing from here to there, the exact height of where that hair is. Okay, and then I can transfer that over, and you see how much more I have to remove from there, so that if I get everything on her, the height of the face compared to her height of the face, the height of the neck compared to the height of her neck, all of that, if I get it correct, then I've got it correct. Okay, so yes, it doesn't matter whether I haven't defined the back, I know that that is going to be basically the starting point. Okay, I know that it's going to be in contact with the back, and then it's going to be shaped from there. Okay, I hope that answers that question. Okay, I see you are wearing padded gloves today. They appear to be similar to weightlifting gloves. These are, I believe, are bicycle gloves. I just got them at Dick's Sporting Goods. They've got a little bit of a padding there, and it really is more protecting my hand from rubbing up against surfaces and sharp edges, that type of thing. Very helpful in this type of thing because I'm basically kind of climbing on top of it and doing some pretty awkward cuts. Okay, that's a question. As I was finishing a relief carving, my wife brought me a ruffler file. Is that cheating? Absolutely not. I got them all over the place. No, no, no. You, what those really help is getting into the little corners, you know, all the little fuzzy bits. No, don't worry. You won't be kicked out of the carving club if you use a riffler file. You won't even be kicked out if you use sandpaper. I just don't like to use sandpaper. Okay, let's see here. Do you have a favorite manufacturer for your chisels or type? You know what? The best one that you can find now that is really most available, where you can actually, you know, actually look at them, and probably the most available numbers that they have is the File or Swiss Made. The one that I have here, this is Dastra, and this is an older tool that actually this one is an older tool, but when I started 25 years ago, Dastra were the ones that I started with. They were a little more rough looking, but they are German tools. Those are really good quality tools. Diefenbacher sells those. Chippingaway.com up in Canada sells the Swiss Made on the File Swiss Made tools. They've got the sort of a beginner set that I prefer. It's if you go onto their website, it's the carving sets are Mary May sets. So they're kind of my favorite starting set, and then there's two other sets that if you just want to go that next step and then the next step. So if you wanted to kind of get a really good complete set of tools, that's the File brand. And there's a couple more out there. There's the Two Cherries, which are German. There's the see if I can remember the Stubai, which are Stubai are Austrian. There's a Swiss Made File. There's the Ariu, which are French. And all of these are really good quality professional tools. And there's the English Ashley Isles and Henry Taylor. And what am I missing? If you wanted to get the older ones, if you're shopping for antique tools, then the Addis, ADDIS, are the antique English tools. Those are really good quality. All right, I better keep an eye on what I'm doing. I'm just carving away and not really paying attention to what's going on. A few more questions here. Oh dear. Okay, we got a little bit of a I'll just answer some questions while the link sorts itself out. All right. Do you have a favorite? And all the 21 tools in your 3 sets sold by Chipping Away, I don't see any different shapes. Oh, you're talking about like the spoon bent, back bent, that type of thing. I'm guessing that's what you're, yeah, spoon bent. Do you generally not find the need for these? I'm a beginner, but it seems when doing something like grounding, there are corners I can't seem to get into. Maybe it's a trap. I think I need another tool rather than more skill. Well, we always need more tools. But, you know, it's interesting because I think what happened was when I started carving, I didn't have any of those fancy different shaped ones. So I pretty much learned how to get at everything and how to get all the cuts made with the straight ones. And So it wasn't until probably 5 or 6 years into carving that I actually got some of those big fancy spoon bend. And then I thought, oh, wow, that's really neat. But mainly what I try to do is not create projects that require these real specialty gouges. I mean, if you've noticed, if you've seen any of my videos, I really do try to stick with some very basic sets rather than, you know, throw out this very obscure shape and that you have to go out and buy that tool in order to complete that project. So a lot of times I actually show how to use in very unique ways sometimes, you know, so maybe side cutting and, you know, approaching it from a different angle and all of that. And rather than going out and buying another specialty gouge. Now, having said that, I've got them all there. So, and I love those tools. But no, it's really not necessary. Now, yeah, I guess it really depends on what you're carving. If you are constantly carving really, really deep, detailed carvings where you just simply can't get into some of those areas, then yes, you're going to need to acquire some of those spoon bent gouges where those are the only ones that will ever get into those. But if you're just doing general relief carving, even this one I probably won't use any of those spoon bent gouges. I'm going to try not to. And as I said, normally I try to make the lessons that I do not get over the top complicated with the tools. But you know what, I guess if I actually started out only using the spoon bent gouges and only using the back bend and all of the different fancy shaped ones, those are probably the only ones I would ever use. I think it just, you get used to it. You get comfortable with what you are familiar with, and then that's what you stick with. So when I take these out, it's only really when I can't use anything else. And like you were mentioning on the question about backgrounding, yes, sometimes getting into those corners, like with this, taking the background down, sometimes it makes it easier to reach those areas. So yeah, it really, a lot of it really depends on what type of carving you're wanting to do. Okay, your finished carvings are also smooth and beautiful. Well, thank you. I know you don't sand to remove wood. Do you sand to remove tool marks, or do you use very sharp tools? I try to use the sharp tools, and there are times when you want to just sort of have that really refined finish and surface that you know, go ahead and sand it, but very lightly. And the difficulty with sanding is, you know, that whole rule of you want to sand with the grain all the time. Very hard to do that when you're sanding carvings. There's going to be some times when you're trying to get into some areas where you just have to go across the grain. It's going to make the surface of the wood change completely. And so you have to be very careful with that. So you want to stay very, very fine sandpaper. If you go in there with a 50 grit sandpaper across the grain, you're going to take a lot to get rid of those just grind marks, really. At that point, it's more like grinding across. So sort of try to hold back on it, not to get too carried away with it. But certainly, if you want that really perfectly smooth surface with no tool marks at all, yeah, I mean, sanding is allowed, I guess. Okay, let's see here. Screen is going to halftones again, man. Okay, I'm back. Gotta love technology. Okay, good, good, good. The one with the most tools wins. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to play around with some settings again. Okay, now I mentioned that I needed to take the height of the hair and the height of this hair. This is way high, so I'm going to go ahead and just remove a bunch of wood right now. So from there and from there to there. So that's pretty much... I think I'm safe to remove all of that. I'm just going to start taking all this away. This is the fun part. You just when you got a lot of a lot of flexibility at this point. You can just go wherever. Okay, I'm a wood turner. Do you ever carve your turnings? Yes, I just subscribed to your courses. Really great content. Well, thank you very much. Yes, actually, I have 2 lessons that show on my school that show how to carve. Actually, more than 2. I was going to say I've got 2 how to carve into a turned bowl, and then I've got several on carving turned things like turned legs, turned bedposts, that type of thing. And yeah, that's and that's a different world, really, that carving around like a turned bowl. A lot of times that's green wood, and that really ends up being a different world in carving green wood. And yeah, let me just see if I can find that quickly. Oh, of course not. Oh, yeah, sorry, I can't seem to find that bowl right now. I wonder if I just put it somewhere. Oh, well. You can look at a picture of it on the website. Okay, Mary, I must go back to work. You're awesome. Thank you for streaming. Oh, thank you. And I'm assuming Indiana Carver, you are a stone carver, right? I'm assuming. Well, we'll see you hopefully on Monday. So, CTK Wood, you had a nice lesson with the Woodwright shop showing how to put a spiral on a cylinder. Yes, dealing with the spindle turning. And so, but bowls are a little different in that as you're carving around the surface of a bowl, the grain changes. You get to one area where you get where you're going right into the end grain. But the interesting thing is, if it's green wood, it doesn't matter. Green wood is just generally pretty soft. Tempted to get the mallet out. Hey, picture still holding together. Yeah, there it is, the Art Nouveau bowl. There we go. Thank you, Taito Alba. Okay, so just sort of thinning down that hair curl, and okay, only have kiln dried bowl blank, so maybe hard work. Yeah, well, it's different. And actually, to be honest with you, I have only carved in green bowls, so it's always interesting because it's kind of mysterious of what it turns out like, because as it dries, it tends to do a little bit of warping. So you turn it and it's circular, and then a month later it gets sort of elliptical shape. All right, so I'm sort of leaving a little bit of room there. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see what's going on with this. You can kind of see her face coming around. Okay, thanks. Yeah, let me know, Rachel. Okay, so let's see. From there to there. Okay, I tried chip carving a seasoned wood bowl and had a lot of chip out on the end grain sections. Yes, need very, very sharp tools. So basically what you're doing is you've got this log, let's say, and you're carving right into the end of that log. And so when you're making cuts into that, you are going to be cutting really against the grain, right into that grain, but even slightly against it by making those little chip cuts out of there. So yeah, it's that's not easy. All right, let's see, where are we? I think okay, so I still have the nose section right there, and I'm just gonna start to refine this a bit more. So I need to see if the angle of her face is still right from one side to the other. So again, I'm just going to redraw in that angle, and this is where I'm basically taking this position right here and lining it up there to make sure that the angle, because it's an interesting little tip. It's not just the face isn't just rotated, it's actually rotated and tipped a little bit, just to make things more complicated. All right. Esker, how do you get the very smooth lines when doing the decorative letter carving? Just taking your time. It really ends up being more of a sweeping cut. Did you see the other letter carving that I did? And it really ends up just making sure that that you don't create the steps. All right, so especially usually the smooth, or the parts that don't become smooth, are the parts where you take a curved gouge and you come down like that and make a lot of separate cuts. It's important to make sure that that kind of does a little bit of a sweeping cut, and so that those cuts connect a little bit more, rather than just simply taking a curved gouge and go boom, 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 boom. You're going to have those tool marks, and I'm guessing that usually ends up being where the issue is having a lot of these gouge marks into the wood itself, into the edge of the letters. Okay, went back and cleaned them up with a knife. Yeah, that'll work. Hey, whatever works. That's fine. That's allowed. Ooh, a big long question. You mentioned bent gouge. When I first started sharpening, I started with an old bent gouge I picked up somewhere years ago, thinking if I damaged it, that would be okay. Unfortunately, using the straight left to right movement on stone left me totally frustrated. It wasn't until last week when you mentioned what I call smiley face movement, curved left and right, that I found I can really sharpen this thing. Yes, that twist where if you're putting it across the stone, do a little bit of a curve like that, and then it's actually going to reach that edge of the blade. Yeah, that's there is a different movement that you have to do with those spoon bent gouges. Well, that's great. Okay, Troy Downs. Have you carved in redwood? Not planning to use that for exterior signs with letters. No, honestly, I have not. Um, I have a feeling it's probably similar to cedar, which is not really nice carving, nice wood to carve. It can get a little spongy, but I really can't say that I have carved in that, but that's just my guess. So you just really need to have very sharp tools for that. Okay, is there a trick to getting a straight line on a letter, or is it more practice? Um, if you watched what I was doing on mine, basically I try to do that little notch just to set it in, very slight notch, and then move it along, and then set it in, and move it along and set it in. And that keeps that outer edge of a letter straight. Then I go back, reset it in that little notch that I made, and then make that cut and slide it along, keep it in that little notch and slide it along. The part that tends to get off, and maybe that's what you're talking about, is each time you make that complete cut of the edge, maybe shifts a little bit of the angle, and then there gets to be steps. That's where you just want to make sure your arm is really locked and the angle of that cut is really locked tightly so that it doesn't shift and you don't have a variation of angles. It's really just more keeping everything very secure and making those cuts as equal and even as possible as you move down that edge. And also, one thing that could also help, if you got to chisel the length of the flat, that'll work. Get a 3-inch chisel, flat chisel, and just go one cut. Well, that's what that side of the letter, other side, that side of the letter. That works a little bit more for the smaller letters. You can, take like a 1-inch chisel and one side, and then you don't have to worry about those steps. Okay, so hello from Bradford, UK. Hello, Tomash. What are you doing if you lose a piece of wood in the place of gluing 2 blocks of wood? What are you doing if you lose? Oh no, the video is breaking up again. What are you doing? I'm just trying to read this. What are you doing if you lose a piece of wood in the place of, I'm guessing, glue 2 blocks of wood? I'm not sure what the question is. You might have to clarify that. Oops. Are you still there? Sorry, I just want to make sure that I haven't lost you. I'm not quite sure what the question is, so if you wouldn't mind asking that again or clarifying. Okay, enjoyed your article on drapery. Oh, thank you. That was a popular woodworking one from years ago. It's funny because I saw that show up and I didn't even realize it showed up on the internet. That was the linen fold, drapery linen fold. And I'm guessing that's the one you're talking about. William was carving the Celtic cross in half-cured white oak. Oh, you were carving, okay, half-cured white oak to make it easier to carve, while curing oak checked spoiled the piece. Probably, yes, definitely. If you're carving in green wood, there is definitely that possibility of it checking and opening up and definitely changing as you as you go. So you kind of have to just expect that as part of it and treat it as, well, that's just kind of the nature of it. And so if it checks, call it part of the process, and say it's just added a little bit of character to your carving. Don't throw it away, it just adds a little character. All right, Evan, when I learned stone carving back in the 70s, I was taught to hold the shaft of my tools between my little finger and ring finger. My calluses were on my little finger. To this day, my hands automatically go to that position. Well, when you do that, let's see, you're saying my calluses were on my little finger. Yes, definitely, because it basically runs along there. Yeah, so yeah, you can, I'm guessing you probably did letter carving, because that's between little finger and ring finger. So you did like that, or that, I'm not sure, but maybe that's between. Oh, so you actually, I'm guessing that's what you meant. So you created a nice hard callus right there. I was basically sort of self-taught in stone carving, so I kind of used a lot of my wood carving techniques and wood carving positions. I just basically sort of an interesting transition from wood straight to stone. Some bowl turners will store a partially dry piece of wood in a plastic or paper bag with shavings from the piece. It slows the drying. Yes. Ashley Harwood, who is here in Charleston, if you have seen, she's all over the internet, YouTube, sort of has a lot of fans on YouTube and does some amazing turning. But she does that. She's got these bags, just regular paper grocery bags with bowls in them all over her shop. And that's what she does. Leaves them in there for several weeks to just sort of ease the speed of the drying. Okay, I missed your comment on the best tools to buy that are widely available. I can't decide at the moment. Check out chippingaway.com, and they're up in Canada. Go onto their website. They have the file, the Swiss-made gouges up there, and they have the Mary May sets of gouges that are kind of what I recommend to start out with. I mean, Tamash, if you carve 2 pieces of wood glued together and you lose a piece of wood at the joint, glue it back. Yeah, I mean, that's all. I wouldn't really be too concerned about it. You would have to, I guess it depends. Is that something that happened? I mean, if you're looking at what I've got here, you can, if it's glued really tightly, you shouldn't really have to worry too much about it breaking away. If it maybe is glued not very tight, maybe it's sort of a little separation, and then you might lose it, then you can just add on pieces. If you do have to add on anything, if you really just make a mistake, then what you need to do though is create squares so you can glue in a new piece and just join it in like that and try to keep it as even as possible. So let's see, Rachel, George, I'm in the UK. Check out Classic Hand Tools. They are in the UK. I don't know what tools they sell. So yeah, Classic Hand Tools, I don't even know where they are in the UK, but within a couple hours of London, I think. But they, all right, we've got a couple interesting Disciple of Messiah, Timber Anew, Raid, hello. Okay, I have no idea. I don't know enough about about Twitch to know what all of that is. Anyway, I'm just going to go and carve. I have no idea what's going on with the chat there. Anyway, I'm going to carve. So I'll let that all sort itself out. I have no idea what that's. Don't ask me what's going on with the chat there, but Taito Albo's he's on top of it. No idea. I guess that happens sometimes. A raid is a good thing, okay. Okay, B-Sky, he's just finished the stream and admires you and wants his viewers to see your work. Well, thank you. See, I have no idea. Sorry, I'm really kind of ignorant about what's going on with this. Thank you. Okay, it means someone likes your channel is sending his or her viewers. Well, thank you. Okay, wow, some mod is on a warpath when the community is trying to build this channel. Oh goodness, you know what? I'm a wood carver. I understand wood, you know, grain direction, tools, that type of thing. That's that. I don't know. Let me just try to carve some wood. Timber is okay, wow. Like I said, I'm gonna stick to carving wood and you know, we'll see how this all works. Okay. Yes, this is basswood. An access ring sounds good. Okay. All right. Well, you can kind of see where her face is coming. Slowly. And then that's going to come down like that, and that actually, this should really be a continuous area right there. It's a little hard to see, but that's actually a pretty straight surface right there. All right, see if I'm missing anything here, because I have no idea what this chat is happening right now. Everyone needs a good stomping from time to time. Okay. And thank you for the raid. You have a good supplier of basswood. Okay, if you go onto my website and you go into tools and supplies, you can find it's Wilcox Wood. His name is Rod Wilcox. He's up in northern Wisconsin. He's got an email. He doesn't have a website, but he's got an email. So check that out. You can contact him there, and he can, you know, make specially cut basswood. I know that Chipping Away also sells basswood. I think they might end up being able to customize, custom cut it. I don't know exactly how that works, but you can check there, and I know they have different sizes. Okay. Say wood turner. Hey, Mike was terrific. I listened to some early, and the sound was good. It was not breaking up. Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad. So we'll keep that video up. It's just it's so technology is frustrating, but I'm getting there. We are going to get this down. Every day it gets a little bit better. Every time I do some streaming, it gets a little bit better. I figure out what in the world is causing the problem. Now I have to figure out what is causing that sort of breaking up thing every once in a while. Okay, less questions means more carving. Okay, let's see. Do you ever carve off too much? How do you recover from that? Make everything smaller. That's basically what I do. Yeah, that's pretty much. When that's what is called a redesign opportunity, when you just take a little bit too much, you know, like take a little too much off the nose, and take that out of there. I think it might be acting up a bit. Oh, look, it's 2 o'clock already. Right, just in time for the link not to work. All right. Well, let's see here. There's a few more questions, and bear with me. No idea why that link did that, but as I said, technology. The bane of my existence. Okay, do you ever carve up too much? Approximate what size basswood do you use for your beginner carvings? Ends up being around maybe 6 by 6 square and just 1 inch thick, and that usually ends up being a really good size for just the basic things like the here, let me just do this, enlarge me, since my doesn't seem to be coming back. There you go. Oh, now it's back. So yes, about maybe 6 by 6, 7 by 7, something like that. That is ends up being the best size to start with. A lot of those free beginner lessons that I have on my school, they all should fit in within that. Okay, Timber Anu, I must get going. Time for food. Have a great stream. Thank you, Timber Anu. Thanks for the raid. One of Bob Ross's happy accidents. Yes, I have a lot of those. Okay, Biska. Mary, work is wonderful. It's been great to see your stream. Lunchtime though, I'll try joining you again. Well, thank you. 1 o'clock, Monday through Friday, and next Tuesday, Peter Follinsby is going to be joining me. I've really got to figure out a lot of this technology before next Tuesday, so we're working on it. We're going to have Mike join us again just to sort of do some test runs on making sure that sound is all working and all of that. So we'll, yeah. So will we ever get to see Taito Alba? I don't know. Taito Alba, going to show your face? Well, we could get you in here on Skype. He is he's sort of behind the scenes there, edits all my videos and everything, so now he's my moderator. So yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna show your face. All right, well, thank you everybody. Thanks. And wine time. Wait a minute, what time is it? It's 2 o'clock. All right, well, thank you. Esker Mary commented in a previous lesson that Minnesota, Wisconsin wood is better than the southern or even Midwest wood. Yes, you're talking about basswood. You want to get whatever the basswood is that gets from the coldest climate. And I would say, you know, probably anywhere from like Illinois up, but like Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, you want to kind of stay away from that. It just ends up getting very stringy. It gets a little bit more, you can see the grain more. The really good northern basswood, very, very white, hardly any grain at all, and really good to carve. Okay, Sanderson, thank you. Have a blessed weekend. You too. Okay, thanks, William. Abisha, thank you. Yeah, maybe one day. Ideal, I'd be in the room to help with tech stuff. Maybe when all this COVID stuff is sorted out. Yes. Oh, you would be able to figure all this out in a second. I just sort of have to go through a lot of YouTube videos and say, what do I do if the picture gets all checkered or whatever it's doing? So yeah, I'll be spending the afternoon looking at YouTube videos on how to sort this out. All right, CTK, thank you. Thank you, Jim Hall, thanks. Thank you. All right, thanks for joining. And 2010, thank you, Mary and Jane. Yes, this is Jane, by the way, if you missed that one on the other one. Lady Jane. So she's coming, you know, let me just hold her up a minute and let's see if we can actually see a little bit better. So you can kind of, hey, yeah, that actually kind of looks like almost a profile, sort of. So she's coming in like that. And so what I need to do next is probably make sure that the width is correct, width of her face is correct. And it's a little bit lopsided right now, but that's because I was sort of attacking it from the top. So, and yes, she's got this funny little hat happening right here. Anyway, I'll just keep continuing on. See you next Monday. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I'll see you next Monday at 1 o'clock. I'm just going to be continuing on. And again, if you have questions along the way, please ask them. Feel free to ask. Just see if there's any other see if there's any other questions last minute. Swiss Maid should buy you whatever you need. Okay, bye-bye. Have a wonderful weekend. All right, take care. And I will see you next. Yes, it's the weekend. See you next Monday. Bye-bye.